The 12th season of Consider This is brought to you in part by From the Top, a national program showcasing the musical talents of young people. From the Top can be heard on KVNO Classical 90.7 each Saturday at 6 p.m.
Consider This, a program of issues and information behind today's news. Once again, from the campus of the University of Nebraska at Omaha, here is your host, Kathy Wyatt.
They live under bridges, in alleys, and on very little hope. Hi everyone, I'm Kathy Wyatt. Welcome to this week's edition of Consider This. Our topic, Nebraska's homeless. Here to talk more about it are Betty Meedinger. Betty's an administrator with the Nebraska Department of Health and Human Services. Mike Sacklar, Executive Director of the Sienna Francis House in Omaha. Bill Keck, Director of the Miracles Treatment Center, a division of Sienna Francis. And finally, Woody Irving, a guest of Sienna Francis. Welcome to all of you, and thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you.
You bet. Betty, we're going to start with you. Talk about numbers of homeless in the state of Nebraska.
In the last year, 2007-2008, we had about 21,000 homeless persons served throughout the state and about 43,600 near homeless individuals and that's just reported to us by the grantees that we fund. There are a lot of people out there that aren't receiving funding from our program, so we don't necessarily capture all the numbers that are out there.
And who are these people that are left homeless?
I think it's a variety of folks, and a lot of different reasons contribute to homelessness, and so there's just really no one face that you can put on homelessness. There's a variety of reasons that cause it.
Okay, and talk to us about the variety of reasons.
Okay, well, I think for a person to become homeless, they are needing an income. We have to have something to pay our rent or our house. We have to have an affordable place to live. Everybody needs that. And we all need people in our lives and support to get from day to day. And so when something is not working in that equation, anybody could be vulnerable to become homeless. And so for supportive services, I mean folks that are dealing with a mental illness or a serious addiction or domestic violence in their family. Children where their parents are impoverished, they're underemployed, unemployed. A lot of working families are struggling today. So, you know, you can't really stereotype one reason, and for that reason we have to have a lot of different strategies to work with people.
And what are obviously the economy right now is impacting a lot of folks. You know, what do you see in your area as far as the economy impacting?
Over the previous year, our numbers of homeless that we captured through our data system was 20% above the previous year reported, and the near homeless was 40% above the previous year reported. So I do believe we're seeing an increased need.
Okay, and Mike, you know all too well what Betty is talking about. You deal with this situation on a daily basis as the Executive Director of the Sienna Francis House. Before we do anything else, why don't you talk to us a little bit about your facility?
Well, the Sienna Francis House is the region's premier homeless shelter program. It houses the bulk of men, women, and children in our community, often exceeding 60 and sometimes 70% of all the people in our community that are in an overnight emergency shelter. It also houses Nebraska's largest long-term professionally operated chemical addictions treatment program that is geared towards serving the homeless at no cost to the homeless. Typically, we're housing right now on our campus. Last night we had 404 men, women, and children. So yes, every day we're seeing and dealing with this issue.
For those of us who can't even begin to understand this problem, paint a picture for us of what it is that you do see on a very regular basis.
Well, we see a very busy place and very, very many people with lots of needs and lots of issues that they're carrying around. We see people trying to deal with their addictions and mental illness, or their developmental disabilities, or the physical disabilities, who are just having trouble getting back on their feet. We just find people all the time coming to us with huge needs and all these issues that are keeping them from really being successfully independent in the community, and when they try, they continually fail. That's why Siena Francis House, at the last point in time count that the community took, housed 74% of all the people that were called chronic homeless in our community. That means they were homeless for lengthy periods of time or multiple episodes of homelessness during the year.
And Bill, we have heard the word addiction used quite a bit already in this interview, and I understand that you are the director of a unique program at the Siena Francis House. Why don't you talk to us a little bit about that program and your role with that?
All right, I'd be happy to talk about it because it's such an important program and there's so many people that need help. Our program itself, we have 103 beds altogether. 79 beds are in the actual treatment program, and 24 beds are part of what we call the step 1 basic stage, which is pre-treatment. And the average ages, the oldest person we've had recently was 81, and the youngest 18. And we have 31 women in treatment right now, and the rest are men. The biggest percentage of people right now are, I'd say probably 60% are crack addicts, or not crack addicts, excuse me, are meth addicts. And it switches back and forth, but right now meth has been really on the rise. And of course, everybody's alcoholic, and it doesn't matter what your primary drug of choice is. It's once you use a chemical to make yourself feel better, then it's an addiction, and so it's easy to switch addictions from one drug to another, but it's all the same. Our program itself is a minimum 4-month program. Average length of stay in treatment is closer to 8 or 9 months. And like Mike mentioned, it doesn't cost anything, which is incredible. Our success rate is incredible. I don't even talk about it too much because a lot of people don't believe it, but it's because of the length of time. And also another big important part is it's a job training program. So everybody that's in treatment, they're the ones that run the shelter. And it takes 100 people to run the shelter along with paid staff, and they're the ones that can best serve the needy. And so they learn the disciplines of being able to stick with the job, get to work on time and work through whatever problems. So by the time they do get done, they're in good shape to get a good job and be able to be a good employee. We're a real strong 12-step based program where we go with 12 steps of AA, and we don't push God on anybody, but it's a very spiritual program. 12 steps are, and the basic idea of step 1 is that you're powerless of being able to stop using yourself. So the whole idea is that if you're going to get better, you gotta have help. Our treatment center, we named it about 3-4 years ago the Miracles program. Prior to that, it was just Siena Francis Chemical Dependency, but when we were trying to figure out what name to call it, and we were bandering a few names, and it's like, wait a minute, all we see is Miracles, let's just call it Miracles. So that's what we call it.
And Woody, you have been sitting very patiently listening to all of this, and
Yes,
I
ma'am.
understand you know what we're talking about, obviously,
Most
firsthand.
definitely.
You've been a guest at the Siena Francis House for 3 years now?
Yes, ma'am. All before I got into the program,
Okay.
I was in and out and I used to sleep on outside of there because I'm one of those addicts that Mr. Bill was talking about. But I just never would go in there and, to do nothing because my addiction had me so stuck out there. But once I got inside the program and began to learn what they was telling me to do, because I couldn't take care of myself. I mean, my addiction had me out in this type of weather right here. That's what I did. I mean, I slept out there. Again, that's what my addiction took me, a cocaine addict. But once I got inside the program and began to listen to what they was telling me, and my higher power and all the suggestions they gave me, that's why I'm sitting here today talking to you, matter of fact, because, I mean, that's what happened. You know, you inside this program, it's a miracle, like he said there, it's a miracle. It restored me, you know. I'm still an addict, but I'm still working on it every day, you know. I know not to pick up, you know. I know not to do something that not within the program. Because you inside those rooms, that's what you do. You go to meetings every day. You try to keep your sobriety, like I have for going on 2 years now. I had a sobriety. I've been at it for 20-some years. 20-some years, every day I picked up some kind of alcoholic drug. But now since I've been inside the Miracle Program, and these gentlemen sat next to me, I can go to meetings today. I know not to pick up today, you know, because I know that's going to set me back. But as long as I'm inside those room and doing the things that they tell me to do, I'm going to be all right. Suggestions and so forth, I'm going to be all right.
Well,
Ask you a question.
Yes, sir.
10 years ago, you had a home, a family,
Work at
a
20
job,
years. Yes, sir.
and you lost all that.
A
did you not?
supervisor job.
And,
Yes, sir.
and you were outside for almost 7 years.
Sleeping in the snow on the side of Francis' house. Sleeping out there in the hot sun because of my addiction again. That's what cocaine addicts does, under the bridges and stuff.
well, and I appreciate Mike bringing that up because there are those of us who, again, cannot even begin to understand
Precisely.
this problem. And you sit around a table with folks and bring up the issue of homelessness, and people think to themselves, how on earth does someone get to a place where they once had a home and a family and a job, and then they wind up in such an unbelievably different circumstance that no one would wish on their worst enemy. So if you could take us back, and I appreciate you sharing with us all the positive outcomes of being at the Siena Francis, but if you could take us back to what Mike alluded to 10 years ago and just walk us through your journey as to how you arrived here from there. I think that would be helpful for people to put this in perspective.
Well, number one, I had to believe that my life was unmanageable. See, I never believed that my life was unmanageable because of the things that I was doing. I had a job every day. You know, I was a supervisor. You know, I worked a straight 20 years at the same job. But I never believed my life was unmanageable because I always wanted to work. I had a home to go to. You know, I had people around me that I thought that, you know, liked me because of what I was doing. And one day I ended up leaving home like a usual day. Just a usual day. I left home one Sunday because that's how I had it set up on the job. They give you days off. And I left home one Sunday because I loved the football. And I left home one Sunday like I usually do for years on my job. I worked at Sundays. And I left home one Sunday and ended up on a place that a person asked me one question, can he use a lighter I had? And the lighter got me to that, to something else. And that's how I ended up on the corner, really. Because that lighter, it's incredible just to me to say that right now. Because a cigarette lighter, a guy asked me to use a cigarette lighter, and he was smoking some crack. After that, he, in my mind, told me, he said, well, you're going home to watch football anyway. You know, so this is help me watch football. That particular day, I never went home for about a week because I was so stuck on the first hit of crack cocaine. That's what happened to me on the corner. But I never would believe that my life was so unmanageable, though, because I thought I could handle it until I began to get stuck and stuck and stuck. And after a while, once I came inside the room, then that's when I began to get the message. My life was unmanageable. I couldn't handle myself. I couldn't do nothing for myself. You know, you might say only somebody I knew was alcoholic and crack cocaine. That's what I knew. And after a while, you know, you go on and on and on. But the rooms taught me that, you know, once your life is unmanageable, you always can do better with it.
How'd you wind up at Siena Francis through all of this? What was the
more to get me inside.
How'd you get there?
Well, I woke up one morning on the corner, same place I'm talking about right now. One morning I woke up and I just happened to walk inside when they was turning people out, because a certain time in the morning you got to leave because they do a lot of cleaning and so forth and, you know, take care of things. And I was leaving one morning. I got up off the corner one morning from sleeping out there in the summertime for about 2, maybe 3 weeks straight. I was on that corner sleeping without doing anything. That's why I slept, because I was too scared to leave because I wanted what was coming out on that corner. And I went in there one morning when they was leaving. I didn't realize they was coming out until I had got inside the place. And I was sitting at the door, and the manager of the door named James Hayes told me, said, you know, you got to go because, you know, we turning out people. And I heard people say the word program, you know, and that's how I ended up inside the program. He took the time to talk to me. He took the time to introduce me to the people of the program. He took the time to introduce me to the counselors and stuff like that. And that's when I ended up inside the Sienna Francis House Medical program.
Okay.
That's how I actually ended up in there because I didn't know, but I heard people talk about that program. The word was always out about the program, and that's the word that I used because I thought by me saying program, Sienna Francis House, that would get me warmed up, get me something to eat, and so forth and so forth. But it so happened, those words got me inside the program.
Okay.
Today I know how I got inside the program because this wasn't me. I mean, it was my higher power because the things that had happened in my life.
Well, and Betty, I guess, and thank you very much for sharing that. Betty, this is obviously, you talked about stats earlier. He's not alone in his journey here. I would imagine that, like a lot of things, it's very difficult for someone to reach out and ask for help. Obviously, folks like Mike and Bill have done a wonderful job in opening the doors of their particular organization to people looking for answers like Woody. Talk to us about what other programs and services are available across the state to people.
Okay. Well, the state is kind of divided up into 7 continuums of care or regional areas where people that are interested and trying to do something about homelessness and a variety of other services that might lead a person to homelessness are meeting and talking about what are the gaps here, what do we need to do, how can we better work together and collaborate. So we have about 65 grantees across the state, all across the regions, and they're doing a variety of services, anywhere from shelter care to helping somebody with a utility payment and rent, vouchers for hotel motels when there's not a shelter in the rural location that they're at, outpatient mental health and substance abuse treatment. All of that plays into a network of services and a continuum of care.
Okay, and there is something that is called the Nebraska Homeless Assistance Program. And we do have a graphic on that. So if we could put that up for the folks that are watching and have you kind of walk through that for us, just to give us an idea of what that's about.
Right, the Nebraska Homeless Assistance Program is basically made up of 2 funding sources, Federal Emergency Shelter Grant Program funds from HUD and State Homeless Shelter Trust funds. And together we blend those with 4 primary areas that we're trying to work with: assisting in the alleviation of homelessness, providing temporary and or permanent shelters for persons who are homeless, addressing the needs of migrant farm workers, and encouraging the development of projects that link housing assistance programs with efforts to promote self-sufficiency.
Okay, and Mike, going back now to your particular organization, I mean, it's very difficult to find funds for just about anything anymore. What is it that you're doing specifically, A, to attract those potential funders, and B, keep them in the loop on what's going on with your organization?
Well, the best way to do that really is just creating model programs and doing our best and seeing positive outcomes, having long-term positive outcomes. I must tell you this, since 2007, our day services program has placed over 325 families and individuals into housing. And as a result, when we look at the numbers of homeless in Omaha, they've actually reduced from 2007 to 2008. As far as attracting funders, we work closely with the state. But quite frankly, well over 80% of all of our resources just comes from the Omaha community in response to our fundraising letters. 6% of our funds comes from government grants and 11% from the local foundations. And then we have some special activities that raise the balance of the funds.
Okay, and you are just one organization in this particular part of the state. What are some of the others in the Omaha area that are working toward that mission of helping homeless get back on their feet? Talk to us about some of the other organizations that are around town here, and then we'll go to Betty and have her specifically name some of those across the state so people can hear it and start to understand and know that first call to make if they suspect that someone is in trouble that they know.
Right, well, there's several campuses, and you have the Stevens Center in South Omaha, You have the Open Door Mission in East Omaha. You have a new Mom's Place men's shelter in Council Bluffs, and you have the Micah House in Council Bluffs. Those are the primary shelters that provide for the homeless population.
Now you have the unique program that you talked about earlier with the addiction, the Miracle program. Are there any of those places that you just mentioned, is there anyone out there doing something specific to their own organization that you're aware of that you could share with those people who are watching?
Well, yes, I know the Stevens Center has a professionally run treatment center also right on its campus. The Open Door has its program, which is a program designed to get people back on their feet. And I believe the Council Bluffs, the new Mom's Place, the shelter also has a transitional program.
Okay,
transitional program. But as far as chemical addictions treatment by licensed therapists such as Bill, I believe only Sienna Friends House and Stevens Center, although Sienna Friends House would be the only one that's free at no cost to a homeless person.
Okay, and Betty, let's talk a little bit, if we could just put some names out there to those people who are watching statewide, and if you could identify the actual part of the state that those centers are located in, that would be helpful.
Okay. Hastings has Crossroads Center. North Platte has Lincoln, the Lincoln Community Center, Lincoln County, I'm sorry. Lincoln has the People City Mission, of course, and Center Point has more of a focus on the substance abuse treatment aspect of things. There is a shelter up in Norfolk, I know, and Scottsbluff is working hard on getting a shelter out there for general populations. There's domestic violence shelters scattered all across the state, and you know, I would suggest people look in their local phone books or blue pages, or call 211, the information referral source, anywhere in the state, to locate their local service providers and to get connected.
That's great advice, because I was going to ask, if we suspect that someone is struggling, and you know, what is that first call to make? So if we're out in the community and we see an individual or a family that we believe would need help, that first call then would be?
You know, 211 is a safe number to give anywhere in the state, because that is the first primary, their information and referral. Okay. So they could at least get you connected to the local community players or the people that really are focused on whatever the services might be that they need.
Okay, and Mike, I want to talk a little bit about outreach here for just a minute, and then Bill, we'll head on over to you here. This is a tough population, obviously, to reach. Once you do identify somebody that you think might need some help, it's kind of where Woody was. You have to be able to, like anything else, accept the idea of help. And so what types of things are organizations like yours doing in the way of outreach to encourage these individuals? It's okay, it's safe, we can help you.
Well, thank you for asking. I just need to talk about a couple of things that just happened recently. Where I received an email from a person in an office building out at 134th and Millard Avenue, saying there was a man sleeping under plastic along the riverbank. And so I sent a team out there yesterday, and they located the gentleman and got information from him, but he did refuse to come back. The health department on Monday, I believe, sent an email saying there'd been a report of a group of men sleeping under the interstate bridge off of Q Street, between L and Q, somewhere in there. So we sent a team there to locate about 4 people to try to get them inside, right? If not to our shelter, to one of the other shelters at all costs. We also, we do a lot of things. We have teams that go throughout the community, in particular when we find word of a specific location. So we brought a woman in, an elderly woman who'd been sleeping in her van. Got her in out of the cold. She's still with us. Things like that. Of course, we're on the Central Park Mall, Jean Leahy Mall. We do patrols. We do foot patrols all night long throughout our general area to make sure that nobody's left outside at night. Okay. But the typical outreach is letting businesses and others know who to contact. so that people are aware of the services and can receive the help that they might need.
Thank you. Okay, and Bill, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Well, I just wanted to share that, probably 65% of our people are from out of state. I mean, they come from all over because we're pretty well known. But I also wanted to share, I'm a recovering person also. I've been in recovery for 30 years, and my drug of choice was cocaine and meth, and I always wanted to help. I'm fortunate I'm a vet, so I was able to get some treatment, but most people in my condition are woodies. There wasn't any help, so I always wanted to be able to develop a program like Sienna Francis, which we were able to do about 15 years ago. And the thing I'd like to let people know is if they need help, all they need to do is give us a call. We've got a pretty good waiting room or waiting list, but we try to get people in, and I just want people to know if they want to get better, because I was real hardcore and an IV user, but if people want to get better, there is hope, and it's I guarantee you, if you come to treatment and you're sincere, you'll get better.
Well, truly inspiration and encouragement sitting around in this circle, and we really do appreciate all the information that you have shared with us, everything from local to statewide. We do have some graphics that we want to put up for folks. We have several of them in hopes that we can help somebody out there watching the Nebraska Housing Database. There is a site there for you. Access Nebraska, of course, we have a website there, accessnebraska.ne.gov. And then we have the Nebraska Department of Health and Human Services, and you see the phone number there is 402-471-9200, and I believe we have another. The U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development, and you have a website there, www.hud.gov, with a phone number listed, and then finally Nebraska Shelters and the information there. So hopefully that has given you enough information, and again, in addition to everything else that you've said, Woody, I understand that you lost your job recently. We want to wish you the best of luck. We also have a book, From Addiction to Miracles, that Bill has written. So a wealth of information for us to help each other. Thanks so much for watching. You have a great week. We'll see you next time.
Consider This is an issues and information program produced by UNO Television. More information and program archives can be found at unotv.unomaha.edu. If you'd like to share your comments about this show, call UNO TV at 402-554-2516 during regular business hours.
The 12th season of Consider This is brought to you in part by From the Top, a national program showcasing the musical talents of young people. From the Top can be heard on KVNO Classical 90.7 each Saturday at 6 p.m.